Ladies and gentlemen, let me open a special council meeting for June, hard to believe, but it's June the 25th, 2018. Moving in our agenda to new business item number 1, consideration possible action resolution. I'll ask Councilmember Ordeneaux if he would please read this on behalf of the council.
Consideration and possible action, resolution number R 2018-117, a resolution and order of the City Council of the City of Pearland, Texas, canvassing the returns and declaring the results of the general runoff election held in the City of Pearland on June 16, 2018. So moved.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any discussion by council? Hearing none, let the record reflect that Councilmember Perez is absent and enjoying vacation today in the northern part of America. And Mr. Secretary, we do have motion second on the floor.
Councilmember Ordeneaux.
Aye.
Councilmember Little.
Aye.
Councilmember Owens.
Aye.
Councilmember Carbone.
Aye.
Councilmember Moore.
Aye.
Councilmember Reed. Motion passed 6-0.
Moving to new business item 2, Mayor's issuance of certificate of election to Adrian Hernandez, Councilmember position number 4. I like it when I got handheld speaking tubes. This is a certificate of election in the name and by the authority of the City of Pearland, Texas. This is to certify that at a general runoff election held on the 16th day of June 2018, Adrian Hernandez was duly elected council member position number 4. In testimony whereof, I hereby sign my name and cause the seal of the City of Pearland to be affixed this 25th day of June, AD 2018. And Mr. Hernandez, may I congratulate you on your election. Ladies and gentlemen, your new council member. This is yours.
Thank you.
The next individual is to have our city municipal judge swear you in so we can swear at you later.
Oh, sorry.
Okay.
Raise your right hand. I state your name. Do solemnly swear
Do solemnly swear
that I will faithfully execute
that I will faithfully execute
the duties of the office
the duties of the office
of council member position number 4
of council member position number 4
for the city of Pearland,
for the City of Pearland,
for the state of
for the
Texas,
State of Texas,
and will,
and will,
to the best of my ability,
to the best of my ability,
preserve,
preserve,
protect,
protect,
and defend
and defend
the Constitution
the Constitution
and the laws of the United States
and the laws of the United States
and of this state,
and of this state.
so help me God.
So help me God.
Hey, Jay. Ladies and gentlemen, not only has the certificate of election has been certified and presented, but he also has sworn under oath. And if he misbehaves, it's the municipal judge that's going to be talking to him very strongly. And so thank you very much. And if you'll join me, I would like to escort you to your new seat. Follow me. We're going to do that later. And here we have. I want to do so, you city council member?
Yeah.
This is the new face of the council. At this point, I would like to adjourn this special council meeting and at 6:08 and ask you to join us in the lobby out there for some cookies and punch. Please join us in just a few minutes. We are adjourned. If the council would remember that at 6:45, we need to do a proclamation. So if you'll come back in as soon as you can do some hand reading, so we'll meet you back here then.
in. All right, so I'm trying to upload this. I saved it to the desktop, but now it's giving me this thing about opening it up.
Good?
Okay.
And then you can change the.
turned it on.
Okay, good. Yes, so.
Yeah, I get it.
Ladies and gentlemen, may I have your attention, please? We are always looking for opportunities to recognize special events, special people, and special organizations. And we do that by way of what is called the Mayor's Proclamation. And we're lucky tonight to have a recognition that we'd like to be able to share with you, because we think it's very important. When you talk about quality of life, first thing you think of parks. When you say parks, you always say, quality of life, isn't it? It's the same thing. So let me present to you a proclamation from the Office of the Mayor, City of Pearland. Whereas our parks and recreation are important to establishing and maintaining the quality of life in our communities, ensuring the health of all citizens and contributing to the economic and environmental well-being of our community and of our region. And whereas parks and recreation programs build healthy, active communities that aid in the prevention of chronic illness and disease, provides therapeutic recreation for those who are mentally or physically disabled, and also improves the mental and emotional health of all of our citizens. And whereas parks and recreation programs increase a community's economic prosperity through increased property values, expansion of the local tax base, increasing tourism, and the attraction and retention of businesses and crime reduction. And whereas parks and recreation areas improve water quality, protect groundwater, improves the quality of air we breathe, and also ensure the ecological beauty of our community, and provides a place for children and adults to connect with nature and recreate outdoors together, which is really wonderful to do. Now, therefore, I time read by the power vested in me as the mayor of this fine city of Pearland, Texas, do hereby proclaim the month of July 2018 as National Parks and Recreation Month in Pearland. And I ask all citizens, both near and far, to join with me in recognizing and commending the Pearland Parks and Recreation Department for the outstanding job they are doing in building and managing our parks and recreation resources, and for the benefits they provide for our citizens. And given my hand to seal this office this 25th day of July 2018, and it was a great deal of pleasure on behalf of the Office of the Mayor and the City Council members, all of which have made a contribution to this proclamation, and tell you how much we appreciate all of you being here to receive this. If we have any of the proclamation individuals here, I'd like for them to step forward and join with me in this recognition for all of you fine citizens who have made such a tremendous contribution to our affair. Let me present, we got a guy who's going to take our picture here. So why don't we line up, kind of line up a little bit here. And what I'd like to do is take a picture and then ask for some comments, if you don't mind. Okay, pictures now, comments later. Okay, that took care of pictures. Here's comments. Let me hold that for you.
Thank you, Mayor. On behalf of the City of Pearland Parks and Recreation Department, I just want to, recognize our team for all the hard work that they do throughout the year, not just during National Park and Recreation Month, but all year long. We have representatives from various portions of our department The theme this year that was given to us for National Park and Recreation Month was to celebrate a lifetime of discovery. And so what we mean by that is just exploring the lesser known things that your Parks and Recreation Department provide. And so during the month of July, we are highlighting some of those things for you. Of course, we've got Celebration of Freedom happening on July 4th, and we hope that everybody will join us for that. And throughout the rest of the month, we're going to be showcasing some of our adaptive recreation programs, our outdoor recreation programs, and there's a calendar that'll be released and put on the city website that will direct you to explore and discover different parts of your city and things that this team puts together. So thank you, Mayor.
Wonderful. Well, that's great. You know, when you go out and get in one of our parks, you can notice that they're growing, they're improving, and like I said before, when you say parks, you think of quality of life. If you say quality of life, you always think parks. So they're almost synonymous, and that's very true. And I think both the proclamation said that, and your remarks also back that up. And all of this is the board of directors of the Parks Board.
No, these are just different.
The Friends of the Park Board. Okay.
No, different managers and supervisors on our staff, and Pat leads our volunteers throughout the entire department, and then we have from our aquatics team and our programs, our athletics and aquatics, our parks, which is this is the hard stuff right here.
What do we do then?
And we've got a representative from our Youth Action Council, which is also a part of the.
Let me ask each one, give us your name and what you represent.
I'm Pat Wiley. I'm the volunteer coordinator for Parks and Rec. I work with their events and programs anywhere that they need volunteers.
My name is Jason Roberts, and I'm the aquatic specialist at the natatorium. I deal with the different programming and learn to swim and that kind of stuff.
Kyle Levacy. I am the recreation programs manager and deal with all of the programs and things that we offer to the community.
I'm Brandon Torres. I am the athletics and aquatics manager. I oversee aquatics over at the natatorium as well as different athletic programs like leagues and camps.
I'm Monica Montoya. I'm the recreation superintendent.
My name is Christopher Bickham. I'm park supervisor. Work with the maintenance of the parks and facilities.
My name is Meemer, and I do anything to do with all the purchasing, invoicing, and all that good stuff.
My name is Reem Abdelaziz, and I'm one of the Youth Action Council members, in which we volunteer in many of our programs.
Ladies and gentlemen, these are the ones back our Parks Board, and our parks flow and as they should. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Got my good side right.
Ladies and gentlemen, let me open a regular meeting of the City Council of the City of Pearland for June the 25th, 2018. Please rise. We'll have an invocation tonight by our Mayor Pro Tem, Councilmember Derrick Reed, and Robert Upton will lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance.
Y'all please bow your heads. Dear Lord, thank you for allowing us all to see another day, Lord. Lord, thank you for continuing to bless our city, Lord. Please watch over Councilmember Hernandez, Lord, and allow him to serve the city to the best of his ability. Lord, please watch over our first responders, our military, the men and women that continue to serve our city and our country. Lord, please watch over us as we make our decisions tonight. Please make sure that they are well thought out and with you in mind, Lord. And please just continue to keep this council and keep this city safe, Lord. Please watch over us as we travel home this evening. And these blessings we thank you for and ask in your Son, Jesus' name. Amen.
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
I, the Texas flag, I pledge allegiance to thee, Texas, one state, under God, one and indivisible.
I want to thank everyone in the audience that are here tonight. I think it's wonderful to see our citizens participate in the governing of our bodies, of our community. And it was kind of special when we seated a new council member. And moving in our agenda, and if you don't, I'm using the same agenda that you have, so we'll follow each other pretty well here. I'm easy to track. Moving in our agenda to item number 3, which is roll call. All of our council members here except for Councilmember Perez, who has joined with his family on a vacation that had planned for a long period of time. And I'm hoping he's having a good time up there. I hope it's not raining or it's not hot. Moving in our agenda to item number 4, which is citizen comments. Councilmember Reed, would you present this for potentials?
Thank you, Mayor. I have a slip for one speaker request tonight from Mr. Jimmy Davis, wishing to speak about permit and inspections. Thank you for being here tonight, Mr. Davis. If you could please keep your comments to 3 minutes and please state your name and address before you start.
Jimmy Davis, 5004 Colmesnell Street, Pearland. First off, let me start off congratulating Mr. Hernandez. I look forward to you serving the city for the next 3 years and hope you serve and make your decisions with a lot of wisdom. The reason I came up here tonight, I've lived in Pearland for several years. I was one of the fortunate people that didn't flood from Hurricane Harvey, but Mother Nature decided 3 days after Christmas, I needed to lose my house to a house fire. Having 2 would have been tough. In the course of rebuilding from the house fire, one of the things that I discovered, and the reason I'm here, mid-April, the City of Pearland issued a nice green sticker for the first round of inspections that could be covered up. They put that nice pretty green sticker on a brand new window that had been installed, because all new windows and doors were installed in the City of Pearland, which, as anybody that lives here knows, we're in a inland zone 2 windstorm area. So that green sticker was put on. In the course of events, I had to fire that contractor a month later. My new contractor, when he came in to get permits with the city was like, oh, by the way, are y'all planning to replace any doors or windows? Because we don't show you are, there's no windstorm engineer, there's nothing on file. And he was like, well, that was already done. Y'all put the sticker okay to cover up over the brand new windows, right next to the sticker that has, here's the maker of it. So we're not real sure how that happened. Start talking to some of my neighbors, one across the street and one house over who did flood. He had to have all new windows put in. Unbeknownst to him, there are windstorm codes because they were told there were not. There was no windstorm inspections done on his house. There was no windstorm engineer. He is not going to get a windstorm certificate. So if we have a hurricane and he suffers damage and they determine it came in through windows that were not inspected, were not properly installed per windstorm code, guess what? he's going to be denied.
You got about a
His
minute.
windstorm is going to be canceled, and he's kind of going to be up a creek. And the fact is, it's because the city of Pearland approved the work to be covered up without making sure the first and most important, in my mind, to make sure you're meeting windstorm codes are done. Now, fortunately, my contractor on my house, we're actually ripping it all out and we're starting over and we're going to do right. My house could be fixed properly. But I got neighbors that were not. It's a little concerning. I think the city of Pearland has some liability and some exposure here because you let people cover up stuff that wasn't done right and your inspectors aren't making sure codes are being followed. Kind of scary.
Thank you. And thank you for those comments, Mr. Davis. Mayor, that's the only person that submitted a form for tonight.
Okay.
So I'll pass it back to you.
Moving get our agenda to item number 4, public hearings are none tonight. The consent agenda. There are several items on the consent agenda, and I'll ask Councilmember Carbone if he would present this for our consideration. I don't know that there are any items to be removed from the consent agenda at this point. What? A and F. Okay. Okay. That kind of.
Thank you, Mayor. Consideration and possible action, approval of consent agenda items A through K with the exception of A and F. So moved.
Second.
We have a motion and a second on the floor. Any discussion by council? Hearing none, Mr. Secretary, we do have motion second on the floor.
Councilmember Carbone?
Aye.
Councilmember Moore?
Aye.
Councilmember Reed?
Aye.
Councilmember Hernandez?
Aye.
Councilmember Little? Aye. Councilmember Owens?
Aye.
Motion passed 6-0.
Moving to consent agenda item A, Councilmember Carbone.
Thank you, Mayor. Consideration and possible action, excuse the absence of Councilmember Keith Ordeneaux from the regular council meeting held on June 11th, 2018. So moved.
Second.
Mayor, the only reason I had this pull, and Keith is not here, I think he's hiding outside somewhere. In my 13 years, I don't think we've ever had an unexcused, but I think maybe we should let him be our first one to be unexcused, just so we would have one. What do you think?
Oh,
But
hang by the thumbs.
yeah, we could do that.
Okay.
Just give him a little going away present.
Let's let him off easy.
Okay.
Further comment on that?
No, I let it go. He's not in here, so I can't.
Council, any further comments either for or against that item? Hearing none, Mr. Secretary, we do have a motion and a second on the floor.
Councilmember Carbone?
Aye.
Councilmember Moore?
Aye.
Councilmember Reed?
Aye.
Councilmember Hernandez?
Aye.
Councilmember Little?
Aye.
Councilmember Owens?
Aye.
Motion passed 6-0.
Moving to consent agenda item F, Councilman.
Thank you, Mayor. Consideration and possible action, Resolution R 2018-114. So moved.
Second.
Have a motion second.
Yeah, the only thing I have on that, I don't have a problem with it on there, but it did mention within the statement that there was 3 bids turned in, I believe it was, and accepted a bid on that, but we don't mention who the other 2 were.
I'll just add, this was an item that was actually awarded prior, and we had estimated it under 50,000. The only reason you're seeing this at all is that in the course of the year, the amount of it's going to exceed that, so we're getting out in front of it and doing it, I believe, properly to increase the amount that's already been awarded. So I just didn't, since it's already been awarded, didn't bother to go over that again.
Okay, but the only thing, and I was really speaking, I have no problem with what's been done, but it mentioned 2 other firms in there, but you know, or actually had 3 altogether, and the city selected one, but we didn't give any mention to who the other 2 were on there, and so I was just wondering.
Well, again, since we
Not a
already
big
awarded,
deal,
we'll
but
send
I
it,
wonder who
we
they
can
were.
send it out to you. I don't know if we know or can dig that up, but it's been awarded, so we can send it to you.
Yeah, and the other thing is on that, it mentions it through this on TxDOT. Now, is this considered a HUB set aside?
On the testing?
No, this is not associated with TxDOT. It is through TWDB.
Yeah, but do they have a set aside on there for historically underutilized businesses? I mean, that was a statement that was in it, so I was just wondering.
Councilman Owens, for TWDB, when you start looking at DBE, MBEs, it's a goal.
Yeah.
So we'll do everything we can to try and meet that goal, but it's not a requirement.
Okay, so I just wondered if it was a set aside type contract.
No, it's a goal that you try to attempt to meet if you've done your due diligence.
Okay.
Okay. And Councilman Owen, the other two, to answer your question, that Zanco was one, and then Eurofin was the other proposer on those when we were doing qualifications.
Three proposals. Okay.
Yeah, 3 qualifications.
Okay. All right. Thank you. That's it.
That completes your comments?
Yeah.
Okay. Does council have any further comments on that item? We do have motion second on the floor, Mr. Secretary.
Councilmember Carbone?
Aye.
Councilmember Moore?
Aye.
Councilmember Reed?
Aye.
Councilmember Hernandez?
Aye.
Councilmember Little?
Aye.
Councilmember Owens?
Aye.
Motion passed 6-0.
Moving in our agenda to new business item, agenda item number 8, which is matters removed from the consent agenda, and we just addressed those 2 items. Moving to item number 8, new business. Councilmember Moore, would you present this item for our consideration?
Thank you, Mayor. I'd like to make a motion to approve resolution number R2018-116 with a correction denoting the location of the Animal Services Shelter at 2500 block of Hill House Road. So moved.
Second. We have a motion and a second. Any questions or comments from council? We do have a motion second on the floor. Staff report, and I think one of them is approaching.
We do have a brief presentation. Cynthia will set up a little bit, but we've got 3 items here tonight that are financing for our capital improvement program, long-term debt issuances that get paid back with either property taxes or water sewer fees. And these are items that were discussed during the budget process and capital improvement program before that, but obviously necessary in making some of these investments back in the community. And so I'll turn over to Cynthia, and then she'll introduce John.
Thank you, Mr. Pearson. As Mr. Pearson previously stated, tonight we're requesting council approval of our financing plan for the fiscal year 2019 capital improvement plan. This is going to be accomplished by a combination of debt financing, including the issuance of certificates of obligation, permanent improvement bonds, and water sewer revenue bonds. With us tonight is Mr. John Roebuck, our financial advisor, and he's going to review in detail the debt financing and the schedule of events. He'll also be happy to answer any other questions you might have, Mr. Roebuck.
Would staff lean in closer to the microphone? I think we could, the acoustics in here is just, eats it up real fast. Go ahead, Pete.
Thank you, Mayor, council members. My name is John Roebuck with BOK Financial. I also want to point out Mr. Whitty's here. He's bond counsel. He's with Oric Harrington Sutcliffe, and he actually drafted the legal documents we're asking you to approve tonight, or at least the notice of intent and also the first reading of the ordinances. But we are going to address items 1, 2, and 3 under new business. And if you'll bear with me, presentation on the screen. I'm trying to figure exactly how to work this thing. Working. This is the bond buyer index. Let's see if we can get that smaller. Is there a way to... Does that work? Back to that. This is an overview of the municipal bond market. The blue line is the general obligation index. It tracks the general obligation municipal bonds, and the red line is the revenue index. As you can see, we've stayed in this relative range ever since the start of the year after the new tax law took effect. So we're in a great environment to sell bonds. Short-term rates have increased. We have a flat yield curve right now, but long-term rates are still near historic lows. We're still lower than the historical average, but we're a little off the all-time lows we've seen in the past. Then, page 2. This is the estimated debt service requirements for their certificates of obligation and for the general obligation debt that Mrs. Pearson talked about earlier. For the permanent improvement bonds, which is a general obligation debt, we're looking to issue about $7.255 million to generate proceeds of $7,915,000, and And I'll go through how we got to those numbers here in just a second. And then for certificates of obligation, we're looking to issue about 6.855 million to generate proceeds of 7,535,000. And then this is the estimated source and uses. Again, for the permanent improvement bonds on the left, we are looking to sell about $7,255,000 in bonds. Right now, based on current market, with premium, $778,000, less expenses, about $118,000. Generate proceeds of $7,915,000 for the city. Based on, again, current market rates, the all-cost estimated TIC, true interest cost, is a 3.801%. And then for the certificates of obligation there on the right, looking to issue about 6.885 million. Premium, again, based on true, current market rates, 761,000, less expenses of 111,000, for total proceeds to the city of 7,535,000. And on the certificates of obligation, the all-cost true interest rate is estimated to be 3.767%. And then for the third issue, the water and sewer bonds, this is a Series 2018B. We already issued the Texas Water Development Board bonds earlier this year. We're looking to issue $18,905,000 in principal amount, which will generate $20,895,000 in proceeds to the city. And there on the far right, you see the total debt service requirements estimated after the sale of the 2018B bonds. And then sources and uses of funds. Again, we're looking to issue $18,905,000 in bonds. Premium, based on current market, is about $2,207,000. Less expenses of $217,000. Generate proceeds of $20,895,000. And because this is revenue, a little more risky debt, the all cost is a little higher, but 3.924%. And to accomplish this, the first highlighted date here is June 25th, which is today. We're here to ask you to approve the notice of intent to issue the certificates of obligation, and then also to approve the first reading of the parameter ordinance to issue the permanent improvement bond series 2018 and also the water and sewers revenue bond series 2018B. And then if y'all approve the notice, we'll have it published on Thursday of this week and then the following Thursday for 2 consecutive weeks. Then we'll come back out here on Monday, July 29th, and have the second reading for the parameter ordinances for the permanent improvement bonds and the water and sewer bonds. And then on Monday, August 13th, we'd sell those bonds and then deliver those bonds on September 11th. I will say after we sell the bonds on the 13th, we'll come back to you, give you the results, and have you all approve the certificates of obligation. But the PIBs, permanent improvement bonds, and the water and sewer bonds, we'll ask you to approve also, but it will be approved early in the day because it's a parameter ordinance, as long as we fall within the parameters and guidelines that we specify in the documents. With that, I'll be happy to answer any questions you have.
Council, any question or comment at this point? Tony?
Yep. Thank you, Mayor. So this presentation covered three different items. And could staff review, I guess, the current resolution on the table? That's for the certificate of obligations. Could you pull up the list of projects just so we can see where that $7.5 million goes?
We'll get that for you between Trent.
And as they're pulling it up, I guess that chart that shows $8.5 million total, and then what we're issuing, or the revised sale amount of $7.5 million. There's a few projects that I think were budgeted for COs, and are we going to anticipate selling those additional COs in the future, or those projects came that far under budget and we're done and we won't be issuing any additional debt?
So the Green Tea Terrace Trail was reduced, and that one was reduced by the amount of the developer contribution that we did with the Riverstone Ranch developer for their segment of the trail. The Orange Street Service Center one, that one has been delayed, so we'll look at that in future COs. The facilities future PERs, that was reduced, but we also added in PER funds for the Animal Services Shelter as well as the Shadow Creek Library in lieu of that. And then the old Alvin widening project, as well as the Max Road expansion, those were reduced by the actual project cost, as well as allocating some existing GO bonds that were left over from some other projects towards those projects. So we won't need those in the future. And I believe that encompasses all the ones that were reduced.
So out of all that, I heard only the one Orange Street Service Center that'll be held, I guess, for future funding.
Yes, sir.
All right, thank you. I guess, Mayor, one other comment just to clarify the certificate of obligation. This is debt we've issued, we're anticipating to issue. It's not been voter approved versus the next agenda item. Those were bonds approved in '07 where we've had voter support and approval of that debt. So just to clarify, and staff can correct me if that's incorrect, but that's how I see COs versus our general obligation bonds.
To complete your comments on that? Okay. Council, have any further comments? Councilor Owens?
Yeah, I do. On the one that you mentioned about Shadow Creek, that's 200,000 or whatever. And those funds we're looking at coming out for the EDC. Shadow Creek Library.
Which project for the library?
Yeah. And you made that.
No, those will eventually be reimbursable from the TERS.
It'll be reimbursed by the EDC?
No, there's nothing from the
TERS.
EDC on the library. It's the TERS.
The tour, well,
TERS.
I know the discussions with the, no, tour, excuse me. Okay.
Correct me if I'm wrong, Trent. I don't think this 200 was just to get the ball rolling. I don't know, can we reimburse this even if we wanted to?
I believe we can reimburse this. It is to get the ball rolling, is to do basically programming, schematic design, and as far as we can get before we start design development and construction drawings with that. But my understanding is that it will be TERS reimbursable.
And how about, which one of the fire stations is, you got 8, 1, and 7, the one that's in Shadow Creek, the super station?
8 is the fire station that is in Shadow Creek, and we are underway with design on that project.
Is that something that would come out of the tours to be paid for that?
Yes, sir. That project is potentially TERS reimbursable as well.
And going to our slide on there of the, I guess it's 10, the total for the total for principal outstanding fiscal year 2016-17. So the total there, we've got $621,420,000. It's outstanding right now.
Are we referencing slide 10 in the presentation?
No. Well, yeah, but it's the one where it's total bond principal outstanding for fiscal year end. It just says 10 at the bottom on it, so I don't know.
Councilmember Owens, you're talking slide 10 on the debt presentation?
Yes.
Yes. Let me see if I can pull that up real quick. I think it's on here. Is this the one?
That's the total of the outstanding for the bonds as of 2016-17?
Yes, sir. And this is based on the general obligation, the water and sewer, the Development Authority of Pearland, and the Economic Development Authority of Pearland.
So that's the total indebtedness that we have at the city.
Yes, different
Right.
component units, but yes, if you took this GO and the water and sewer, that's technically the responsibility of the city. The Development Authority of Pearland is not the responsibility of the city, and neither is the EDC is a separate entity, but although it's sales tax collection by the city, it's issued through the EDC, not through the city.
Okay.
I think the other point with that is that the water and sewer is backed by water and sewer rates as opposed to the GOs and COs, which are property tax supported debt.
One of the questions, when we talked about this in the beginning, we talked about doing a bond election of the projects to go out for a bond election. That's not part of this now? Or are you looking at going with the COs rather than bond election?
For the 2019 bond election, that would be general obligation bonds approved by the voters.
All right, so, but I was thinking that the projects you list in there now, that was some of we talked about being on that bond issue. And so I didn't know if we were going to do that with COs or is it going to be on with the bond election itself?
The projects you're referencing is at the library as well as the fire station?
No. I know where those are coming from.
I don't think we've got any of the other projects that we discussed as part of the 2019 bond program in this issuance.
Okay.
We do have some preliminary engineering monies for those projects in this issuance so that we can develop those projects and have accurate scopes and cost estimates for the 2019 bond election.
Are those coming out of the 2007 PER on the bonds on that or not?
No, sir. Those would be new preliminary engineering work that would be paid for with the certificates of obligation associated with this current agenda item.
All right, I just want to make that clear on that, that we're going out and give the voters an opportunity to vote on that, because we're getting pretty well uptick on the amount of money that we owe as a city. And I know, that going back and looking at it across, we've got a lot more people coming in, to the city and probably revenue by that way. And one of the questions that popped up that I had on some of that, and I think Clay, you might be able to answer this one, is the notice that we had gotten about the dollars not coming in on the tax the way that we thought we would be getting them in. There was some concern about that, and I believe it said that we may have to take some of the projects off for right now until that picked up.
So a couple things going with our current year collections. The way we budgeted those, as they've come in, we estimate, say, 99% of collections, and they're coming in truer to 97, 98. So not a huge percentage difference, but with these amounts of numbers, it's less. It's more impactful on the general fund operating sides, maybe what you're recalling. The debt service fund is, it's got the same issue, but there's more than sufficient. We're over minimum fund balance there, so there's no issues there whatsoever. So.
That completes your comments.
I'm just concerned from the standpoint of this next fiscal year that we had coming in for the budget, that we're not looking at doing some kind of increase in the tax. And I think, probably from what I heard on for the residential here, that the increases in the residential that may offset it. I don't know. But I'm just concerned about coming in with a tax increase into 19 and 20.
When you look at it, there's a great deal of 196 billion that is water and sewer that comes out of service. Reed, would you?
Mayor, I'd like to echo that same concern. I mean, if Councilmember Ordeneaux was here, I'm sure he'd say, what else are we going to do to pay for this besides increasing taxes? And so, over the next 2 months, when we look at our budget, and I know there's always a plan, and no shot against you, but I mean, at the end of the day, somebody's going to pay for it. So, we're going to be trying to sit here and figure out ways to lower taxes. And I understand our debt to income ratio has lowered, and that's great. But I mean, that doesn't mean take out more debt and continue to take out more debt and then continue to take out more debt. So hopefully we all look at this budget very carefully and try to figure out things and ways to save, maybe Xing out our address coordinator. Hopefully they're not in the room, but I mean, some kind of ways seriously to save money. So we don't have to, if we do increase, don't have to drastically increase taxes.
That's true. That's true. Any other question or comment from council?
Mayor, if I could, I'll just add, and points well taken and appreciated. Just point out, as the material we shared out on the debt overall, and as Member Reed just referenced, our tax base is growing, so we spread that out over a larger base, and our the important measure of our ability to pay our debt service and total outstanding debt to valuation continues to decline, which is a positive direction. The debt service rate that we adopted for this current budget year is 44 cents, and that's the lowest it's been last 5 years. So, and we lowered the overall rate in 16, 17, not 17, 18. We adopted a little uptick on the operating side, which is what we've talked about we wanted to do. So.
But that was my only concern on here, and I know that over the period of years, that when we come out, the city had been growing so fast, through there, that certainly it was offsetting through there. But if I remember correctly on some of the notes that we got, the permits are not as much as they've been in the past, and it's kind of slow. The revenue coming in on the tax revenue is not as good as it normally is, but I'm sure, it'll wash out at the end of the year to do that. But it's like when we had our budget meeting on it and approved the budget, and I just asked, on there, I went ahead and I approved it, as well as other council members. But I just want to make sure we had a fallback on this thing if things didn't come out the way that we planned in the beginning of the year. And so that's the reason, that I had the concern on it.
Well, we built a city that's got a lot to offer for people, and they're coming in. Our population's increased. And if we weren't increasing with the population, we wouldn't have some of these needs to do some of the bond issues to put in place the facilities that will serve our citizens. And you can't have both ways. A lot of cities that aren't growing don't have this problem. But we're fortunate to have a growing city that is, fortunately, as we grow, we're also increasing our tax base.
I understand that, Mayor.
Tax base, it addresses some of the problems we have. So cities that are growing, every city that has the growth rate that we have or better are having this kind of problem.
Yeah, I understand that, so
can't
I
cure
just
it by
want to make
just not
sure that we
doing
understand
things.
where we're going to on this and what amount that it amounts to and what kind of tax rate that we're going to have.
But if you'll notice, we've reduced our debt service quite a bit over the years. So I think we're making some tremendous progress, and I think we ought to be proud of that. Any other question or comment from council at this point? Did staff complete their report on all that?
That's it, sir.
Okay. Mr. Secretary, we have a motion second on the floor.
Councilmember Moore?
Aye.
Councilmember Reed?
Aye.
Councilmember Hernandez?
Aye.
Councilmember Little?
Aye.
Councilmember Owens?
Aye.
Councilmember Carone?
No.
Motion passed 5-1.
That information in the record. Let's move to new business item number 2. Councilmember Reed.
Thank you, Mayor. Consideration and possible action, first reading of ordinance number 1560, so moved.
Second.
I have a motion and a second on the floor. Council have any question or comment at this point? Hearing none, we do have staff report.
Sorry, sir. So this is the GEO bond issues, and these harken back to the 07 as we continue to tick those off. So these were authorized for that, for the projects are described in the AR, and recommend this is a first reading for these types. So this will come back for a second 2 weeks. And the projects that are included there are shown drainage and road improvements.
Council have any question or comment on this item?
Mayor, just to clarify, this is from the '07 bond, so these were approved and voted on by the taxpayers and the citizens.
Go ahead. Well, and also so we can just make sure that we're paying attention to this. This is another 600 grand down the drain because of the time that we wasted on actually putting this stuff into effect. So,
Okay. Council, have any other questions or comments? Hearing none, Mr. Secretary, we do have motion second on the floor.
Mayor, if I could.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Maybe staff to expound on that 600 that's going down the drain.
Secretary Cass, okay.
If I could get a clarifying question about what that's referring to. I see 600 there for a specific project, but
well, the increase from what was adopted to what is, and I do see that there's a difference in the amount adopted for drainage. I believe it was line number 2 on the previous.
so that doesn't have anything to do with the timing. That's just reallocating. The original issue had drainage projects, and as we've 10 years, different needs and higher priorities for drainage. That same topic is approved. So all we're doing is moving that. Can we get the list of the projects up, please? Those it's for a different project, so it's not changing. The gist of that.
So that's the DL Smith project, which we had pushed off the drainage project in that general area to future years. As we go through our master drainage plan and prioritization with that, after Harvey, we looked at buyouts in that area and land acquisition in that area, and that's what that 600,000 is associated with the authorization we were given to move forward with some of those acquisitions.
So the voters didn't approve that.
No, they did.
They did.
I mean, it was a voter-approved bond for drainage in that area, and that's where it's being used.
Any other questions? Great. Councilor Owens?
Well, just a quick note on that. There's been several things come up on the 2007 bond issue and just now getting to spend those dollars there. And I just want to make the statement again. I was there during that period of time. And the reason that if you look at it and you look at the bond rates and the price that went up in 2009 on there was the reason that we didn't come out with it, a lot of those projects, because we did not want to hit the taxpayers, during that period of time because there was a big problem in the economy and everything else. And so that was why that those weren't brought out during that period of time.
Okay. Any other question for council? At this point? Hearing none, Mr. Secretary, we do have motion second on the floor.
Councilmember Reed?
Aye.
Councilmember Hernandez?
Aye.
Councilmember Little?
Aye.
Councilmember Owens?
Aye.
Councilmember Carbone?
Aye.
Councilmember Moore?
Aye.
Motion passed 6-0.
Okay. Moving to business item number 3, Councilmember Hernandez.
Make a motion to approve the first reading of Ordinance 1561. So moved. Second.
So moved.
So moved.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. We're in discussions. Staff, any comments on this at this point? Council? Otherwise, staff report?
So this is the utility system, the enterprise fund, and these are for water and sewer projects as listed on the screen there. Wide variety of water and sanitary sewer projects, primarily plant expansions in this batch, and then also the water meter changeouts, which we're required to do, and changing all the meters throughout the city. And so these are paid back from the rates over time. Again, all part of budget discussions, CIP, and prognosis in the materials that you've seen in the past.
I complete your report?
Yes.
Okay.
I've got one
Council, have any question or comment?
Yeah, I just got one quick question on it. And we mentioned the water meters. We approved that here a while back, 13 million, I believe it was.
Right.
And what kind of status do we have on that now?
Well, it's a huge contract, since it was awarded probably 2 months ago. Doing the foundations for the technology. The contractor's been in and met with staff for planning on the transition, the scheduling. A lot of technology work is underway for making the transition. We actually have a date, August 1, for new meters that are going to be in new construction. They're not going to have all the features, but those will start to be deployed. So it's definitely rolling.
Council, any question, Councilman Carbone?
Thank you, Mayor. On the water meter change out, I thought we financed this through the Texas Water TWDB.
Part of that, sir, Councilman, it's about 10 million of it was financed through TWDB.
Okay. So the remaining we're issuing these revenue bonds?
Correct.
Do you recall what life we issued on the bonds for the TWDB?
I believe
10 years.
10 years.
10 years. And these tonight are
20 years.
20 years. What's the life expectancy of the water meters?
It's a sliding scale. I mean, usually they say 10, but then we start testing to make sure everything's in compliance and they can last longer. Then it also comes down to what we call number of miles or number of gallons pushed through the meter. Then we'll start changing out.
Okay. So I guess my comment would be, I think
yeah.
we've financed them on the prior sale at 10 years to match the closer life of the asset, and now we're going after a 20-year.
There's also another component with it too, is that it's 10 years and then battery life associated with that because of the batteries is up to 20. So there's other components in there that are lifelong.
So we got to change the meter at 10, but we replaced the batteries at 20? Did I hear that?
It's a sliding scale. There are new meters that are here right now. They're not moving parts. These are mag meters. So we'll look at calibration and continue to move through. Usually on the 10 years with what we call positive displacement meters. Those are the ones that we have out that move and have parts inside. Those are the ones that wear out. We are going solid state meters right now. So it's a different, but it's usually 10 years and then sliding scale thereafter. And there's a warranty. We always have warranties with these as well that extend past that.
20-year warranty?
We have a sliding scale, 20-year warranty. Sliding scale.
Sliding scales. All right.
Sir.
Robert, correct me if I'm wrong, but it's a 10-year full replacement warranty, and then it's prorated over the next 10 years, so it does extend through that period of time.
That is correct.
All right. Thank you.
Just one. Just one. Yeah. Over that period of time, I mean, we were assuming a lot of debt on the water and sewer, which I guess, that's one of the biggest complaints that we get at the city. But if I remember correctly, going through what we talked about on the water and sewer, that in 2019 and 20, that the water and sewer rate is estimated to come up another 15.6%. Is that still a number that we're looking at? I mean, we've had two increases over the past 2 years, I think 10 and 10. And 15.6 because of the sale of or actually the loan that we got from the state over the water. So is that still a number that is on the books as a possibility of 15.6, I think?
We're in the middle of developing the budget for next year. I mean, that's numbers you cited, or there's a lot that goes into those. Obviously, we got to expand the water surface treatment plant. There's bond covenants that drive the rate requirements to a large degree in the funding, but you'll see all of that in probably 10 weeks. Still less than many cable bills.
So we can actually, from what we're looking at, we can really look at over the next 2 budget cycles about a 25 to 26% increase in the water and sewer rates.
No, the annual increases, I believe from when we did look at that last year, I believe the total revenue increases, which equates basically to the individual rate increases, were forecasted 15% annually, but we'll update those again. And so far, early numbers are that those are looking positive, so we'll be able to come in below that for at least next year.
Yeah. Well, from what I remember, on reading that, it was 15.6, next increase, and then actually possibly up to 19 something on the fiscal year after that. So that's getting water way up there. But anyway, that's what I remember on the information we looked at previously into the wastewater program that we had for the potential increases.
Any other question from council?
Yes, one question, Mayor. What's our anticipation on these new water meters, on any savings that we would save that could be passed on to the taxpayers on this side?
Well, the meters are going to, they do a couple things. One, they're more accurate over time. As Trent just referenced, the old school meters, they wear down and they start to slow down, so they're not capturing the actual usage. So it's giving you a more accurate picture of the usage. They also provide more information, so they can provide better information about leaks, for instance, and usage, about times a day and so forth. So for those two reasons, that's why it needs to be done. That's why, as part of our larger TWDB financing, they're required because our water loss rate, unaccounted water, is higher than it should be for a new system like ours. So this will help bridge that gap and give us a better picture of what's actually being used out there.
Any other question from council? Council at this point? Hearing none, we do have a motion second on the floor, Mr. Secretary.
Councilmember Hernandez.
Aye.
Councilmember Little.
Aye.
Councilmember Owens.
Aye.
Councilmember Carbone.
Aye.
Councilmember Moore.
Aye.
Councilmember Reed.
Aye.
Motion passed 6-0.
Moving to new business item number 4, Councilmember Little.
Thank you, Mayor. Consideration and possible action, resolution number R 2018-105. So moved.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. We're in discussion. Staff report.
Thanks, Mr. Mayor. We went out and put out for competitive proposals, supplies that we use in our water and sewer operations throughout the year. So this gives us pricing for ordering on those and warehousing parts has been described here. There's a huge list of items that we got the competitive pricing on. So this item 4 and then the next 2 after that, we divided them up to get the best pricing, but not expand too much to the number of contracts that we've got to manage. Number 4 here is by and far the largest piece of that work that we are asking consideration for.
Council, have any question or comment on this item?
Yes, Mayor. What's the actual life of a lot of these valves? I mean, we put all this together, and it's like a huge sum of money in reference to basically valves. So I'm just wondering what the life expectancy is of these valves.
Councilman Moore, a lot of that is when we do things and repair things, to give you an exact life, you could have 15 years, you can have up to 50 years. It's use and maintenance, but when they do fail, we need to be able to replace them and get in there and replace them quickly. And so these will have our materials that we can purchase. But then also as we're having to replace water lines or things out in the field, we'll have to put valves in and then we'll have that information. But it can be life of the product from anywhere from 15 to 50 years out there for use.
Okay.
So this is basically a cost approved on what we think we might need, and if we don't use it, could come in under this amount?
This is what we spend pretty much on an annual basis as we're going through and repairing and working in the system. But it's cost not to exceed.
That completes your report. Councilmember Bowens?
The reasoning again on 456, I understand the fifth one there was because the one in the Ford main supply didn't bid on those. And that's why the other one on Ferguson Enterprise bid on those certain size valves and stuff, and the first one didn't.
Yes, sir. When we took through, we also wanted to make sure we're getting the best price for each of those parts, and so that's why we took those out. So these are the better prices as we took a look at the holistic bid.
That'll be the same reasoning on.
That's correct. That'll be the same reasoning on the next one as well. On all three of those, we wanted the best price for what we could get our parts for.
On those estimates, is that something that we used on estimating from previous years of usage?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
And we don't order those all at one time and bring them in, do it? It's on.
These are staged throughout the year as we need them.
All right.
The majority of these are carbon steel, I assume? I see some PVC in here and some hodgepodge brass stuff for fire hydrants, but.
It'll be ductile iron pipe.
Say again?
It's ductile iron. So
Okay.
a lot of the fittings and valves, they're cast ductile iron. And then plastic, of course, for PVC, for our water mains, stainless steel bolts, et cetera.
Okay, so any of the iron ones, is there any wrapping on it for coating protection?
When you start taking a look at water lines, the valves, for example, that are cast, those have a protective coating on them that come from the factory. Same with our T's, 90s, fittings, et cetera. Those have a coating on the outside as well.
Thank you.
Councilmember Little?
I've got a question. If the amount actually used, the amount of valves and fittings ordered is different than the bid award, is that adjusted after the fact?
This is awarded on a unit price. So it's basically however many we have to order to do our repairs and our work multiplied by the unit price throughout the year. And so it's whatever we actually use, not the amount is an estimated amount based on past usage.
With a
So
certain-
if we use less, it'll come in less.
Certain amount allocated for inventory?
Yes.
Okay, thank you.
We don't get them all at one time, do we? No, we
No, sir. We
take
didn't-
them like an open purchase order and just get as needed.
Councilman Owen, that's correct. We have it, it's open throughout the entire year so we can purchase as necessary.
In case of a hurricane, you got to really give them a call that you need them in the next 30 minutes. So, move.
So if the total amount spent doesn't come out to the $1,068,000, what have you, I see that there's two options on the table. Does that affect, it doesn't affect in any way the options for the 2 one-year renewals that are available if we don't hit that target in some way, because I'm assuming it's negotiated on a volume basis?
Councilman Hernandez, the aspect is that that's what we project to use, and then when next year comes up for renewal, then we have that inventory list that we use. And then we'll come back to council to adopt that renewal with the amount necessary for next year's spend.
So it's bid out again regardless?
No, if it is not, if we go for the renewal, then they will provide, based on the quantities that we need, the cost per the unit price, and then we'll come to council with that amount.
Okay, but that's not contingent upon usage in
No.
any way? Okay.
Any other questions from the council?
If we hadn't used them all on the first purchase order,
I guess there is.
we wouldn't have to order that many more on the other, and it's agreement between the client and the city where they use the second year.
Correct. It just kind of depends on, If we don't, or if we have 20 valves we need and we only order 18, then that's what we order for the year. And then we'll go back and then we'll look at renewing the contract next year.
Council, have any other question or comment? Hearing none, Mr. Secretary, we do have a motion second on the floor.
Councilmember Little?
Aye.
Councilmember Owens? Councilmember Carbone?
Aye.
Councilmember Moore?
Aye.
Councilmember Reed?
Aye.
Councilmember Hernandez.
Aye.
Motion passes 6-0.
Moving to business item number 5, Councilmember Owens.
Consideration possible action, resolution number R 2018-104, move.
Second.
We have a motion and a second on the floor. We're in discussion. Staff report.
So this is the smaller piece, as was noted in the agenda material. This is to get the best price and reflect what was actually bid on for the specific pieces of these valves.
Council, have any questions or comment on that item? Hearing none, we have a motion second on the floor. Mr. Secretary.
Councilmember Owens?
Aye.
Councilmember Carbone?
Aye.
Councilmember Moore?
Aye.
Councilmember Reed?
Aye.
Councilmember Hernandez.
Aye.
Councilmember Little.
Aye.
Motion passed 6-0.
Moving in our agenda to item number 6, Councilmember Carbone.
Thank you, Mayor. Consideration possible action, resolution R 2018-103, so moved.
Second.
We have a motion second on the floor. We're in discussion. Staff report.
And again, the third and final of this batch, all those bid out together, but this to MDN for the parts that they were the best in the interest of the city.
Okay. Council, any question or comment on that item? Hearing none, we do have a motion second on the floor, Mr. Secretary.
Councilmember Carbone?
Aye.
Councilmember Moore?
Aye.
Councilmember Reed?
Aye.
Councilmember Hernandez.
Aye.
Councilmember Little.
Aye.
Councilmember Owens.
Aye.
Motion passed 6-0.
Moving to new business item number 7, Councilmember Moore, back to you.
Thank you, Mayor. Consideration possible action, resolution number R 2018-115, so moved.
We have a motion and a second. We're in discussion. Staff report.
Thanks, sir. So we obviously provide to full-time eligible employees healthcare insurance, and we provide a base program that's been very successful. We look at that closely as a large spend item for the city out of our operating budget each year. We manage that carefully because of the scale and because it obviously impacts our employees to a great deal. We've been successful over the last several years in both providing the benefit and managing costs. We've all read the headlines and seen healthcare costs are generally in the private sector and public growing exponentially. However, our experience has been good. We've renewed last few years, but we've made the commitment that we will go out to the market and seek competitive proposals for this upcoming year, which we did. Shared out, we got a number of responses for not only healthcare, but also for the dental plan and vision. We shortlisted the firm. We had IPS as our consultant on these, and shortlisted the firms, went back and got last best offers, and pleased to present actually being able to maintain with the incumbent for the healthcare. Are recommending changing on the dental, and I believe the same on the vision, which is much smaller. But we got a brief presentation, I believe, and Michelle Graham, our HR director, will take you through some of those highlights.
Thank you, Mr. Pearson. I think he summed up the presentation that you're about to see. As he did say, we did go out for bid. We went out for an RFP process. The last time we did that was in 2015, so we are currently in our final renewal period. So in April, we started the RFP process with IPS as our consultant, as they have done for years past. And what Mr. Brian Wilson is here to present the information related to our the RFP process, the healthcare financials, as well as recommendations for moving into our renewal period, which will be October 1 of 2018.
All right, thank you. Council members.
Would you tell us who you are and who you work for?
My name is Brian Wilson. I work for IPS Advisors, the broker for the City of Pearland. Okay, thank you. Thank you. I'm here today to actually go over the RFP process, the budget, how it's going, as well as our recommendations for the plan year of 2018-2019. Okay. If we move along here, let's see, there we go, table of contents. We're going to go over the historical claims update, the RFP vendor response, health insurance and budget projections, health plan design and contribution options, as well as the dental, vision insurance, and finally our recommendations. Here we go. All right, the health plan financials. Actually, if we look at on page 4, you'll see actually the top section there is the plan year for 2016 and 2017. All right, over to the far right, you'll see your total net cost. Each column, you have your medical claims, your RX claims, which is your prescription drugs, capitation, which is actually the amount of money that Pearland pays for the Kelsey Care Network, the administration cost for Cigna to actually process your claims administration, your SL premium, which is your stop loss premium, and then your total costs. As you can see, last year you ran it almost 10% or 10.5% over the previous. You see down below, you'll see the plan year, the current plan year, the 6 months that we have the data for in that. If we annualize it and move it forward, if you go all the way to the right, you'll see that we're actually running at 1.3% over the previous year, and per capita at actually negative 1%. The reason the difference between the two numbers is the enrollments actually increased from 586 to 600 employees. Okay. Any questions regarding this page here? In short, you're running well. Okay. On page 5, your total per capita claims. Okay. You can see we have actually claims data all the way from back to 2012. Right? We're running pretty steady over those years. You actually had no increases in 2012, 2013, only a 4% decrease actually in 2014, 7% decrease in 15, 16 was a 9% increase, and annualized we're running at about a negative 2% over last year. Okay. So we did go out to market. We got some RFPs. We actually pulled down RFPs for both the medical stop loss. All right, we actually pulled in 5. We got Aetna, Blue Cross Blue Shield, United Healthcare, Guardian, as well as True Liberty. The others that are listed there, we actually got responses, but they weren't competitive. That's what the NC stands for. They're not competitive. The third-party administrators to do the claim processing. We got, of course, your incumbent Cigna, Aetna, Blue Cross Blue Shield, and United Healthcare. Your pharmacy benefit administrators, if we decided to carve that out, we had 2 options with Involve and Welldyne. Dental is currently with Aetna. Of course, we're looking at Cigna, Lincoln, and United Healthcare on the dental. And then Vision with VBA as the incumbent, we actually got bids from Davis Vision, MetLife, and Unum. Right. Currently, we're going to look at the third-party administration and the stop loss that we currently have for your medical plan. Right. Your first column there is your current. Okay, you can see the maximum annual funding is at $8,700,000. That is the maximum that that claims would hit. If it goes over that, the stop loss carry would actually kick in and cover any costs over the maximum funding. The initial renewal came in at 6.4% increase. The best and final that we got from Cigna, we got them down to a 1.7% increase. And United Healthcare was the next competitive bid that we had at 6.2% increase. Okay.
If I can ask a question on that, you say we got them down. I guess can you expound on that? And I mean, besides just the price, there's some other changes in terms between the renewal and then the best and final.
Right. We're actually able to get their administration costs down, as well as additional rebates to the city. As also, we've got them to agree to additional wellness funds from $50,000 to $65,000 that they're going to contribute to the city of Pearland to help with their wellness program. There's further highlights in our recommendations. But, yeah. All right, sure. Any other questions? All right, next page. It's the health plan renewal, the budget protection. All right, currently, we're sitting, if you look down toward the bottom, you'll see the ending net assets. Those are the assets that are actually in the fund balance. We're currently at 33% fund balance of 2.4 million. That was in there at the end of 2017. The amended budget for 2018 was, we projected at 2.2. Your actual year to date, the fund balance is actually has 3.1 million. So you have actually a 40% asset in the fund balance. Right? If we take everything and update our projections, we figured it'll be coming in around 2.5, almost 2.6 million at 35%. And we're projecting for 2019 plan year it to be at our updated projection of 2018 at the almost 2.6 million. Any questions regarding our budget projections? Okay. Next page. Actually, what we used to, our assumptions under the budget projections, we of course updated your claims through the month of April 2018. We assume a 7.8% medical trend, a 2.5% pharmaceutical trend, as well as updated administration fees and headcount, and of course your ACA fees for 2018. All right, year to date, taking in the city's budget documents received from 2018, which included expenses through March. And of course, we use the same assumptions we did in 18 for 2019 to project those numbers moving forward. Any questions regarding that? All right. On page 13, the proposed plan design, we actually only have one recommendation, and it's actually due to an IRS requirement, and that is the lowest level that the deductible can be on a health savings account is now raised up to $2,700. But that's what we recommend moving forward on plan designs. So the plan designs won't really change at all for the upcoming year for the employees and their families. Okay. Any questions? No? All right. The next page here actually goes over the enrollment, kind of shows you who are the percentages of employees that are employee only, employee spouse, child, and family. As you can see, almost 50% of your population is under employee only. Right. All right, next. This is actually the current dependent funding at 66% that we have on the board here today. There is actually we're recommending a 3.9% increase overall to the employees and city's contributions for the upcoming plan year, relatively just due to trend. Right? And over in the highlighted red is actually going to be the total employee change from their current. You can see it's very minimal. Okay, if we keep the funding at 66% as it is today. Right. Next page. Now, we are recommending at the end, of course, to get down to the 62%. That's what the benchmarks are coming in at. Okay. We have over 55 cities in that benchmark, as well as we also pulled in the benchmarking data from surrounding cities. Okay. That's where that 62% comes from. All right. And then, of course, over the last couple of years, we've actually taken baby steps to get down to that 62%. And so, of course, we're recommending this year to actually go down to 64%, as we have over the last few years, just dropping it 2% each year. All right. Any questions regarding that? No? All right. Next page here actually goes over the enrollment, kind of shows you who are the percentages of employees that are employee only, employee spouse, child, and family. As you can see, almost 50% of your population is under employee only. Right. And then, of course, over the last couple of years, we've actually taken baby steps to get down to that 62%. And so, of course, we're recommending this year to actually go down to 64%, as we have over the last few years, just dropping it 2% each year. And again, in the red, you can actually see the difference. If you look at the very bottom, it'll tell you the overall change from current in a percentage. Again, the total medical cost will need to go up about 3.8%. The city's contribution will be about 2.9% of that. And the employee's contribution will actually go up about 7.4%.
What's that special note down there at the bottom?
It's due to actually their wellness that we have. We actually discount the rates, $25 for employee and $25 for spouse if they actually participate in the wellness program and get their annual physical each year.
If I could add on to that, that's been our practice the last 2 years. First year is employees only. This year it's employees and spouse. And want to do that again. We've had very, very high compliance success with that, thanks to human resources getting the word out. And people have 9-10 months to get a wellness visit. That can be a physical, anything. So these rates are, correct me if I'm wrong, pre that discount, correct?
Yes, sir.
So, for instance, you take the employee only, it says total employee contribution 50, that gets knocked down to 0 so long as they participate. And you can run that down through the rest of them. So it's, in my mind, a win-win and been successful and been positive for employees to be able to go and have that service.
I was just wondering why more people weren't involved in it.
It's very high, so there's no reason why. I mean, it's virtually 100%. So
I just finished mine a couple of weeks ago. I passed.
Okay. Any other questions? All right. The dental insurance. The city of Pearland is currently with Aetna for their dental. Initially, Aetna came out with a 1.2% decrease in the overall dental program. However, Cigna came in at a 21.5% decrease. So, of course, we're recommending moving to Cigna. Also, this move to Cigna will actually give you a 1% discount on your stop loss premium as well. So there's additional money there. Okay. And then next page, your vision insurance. Okay. You're currently with Vision Benefits of America, VBA. They actually came in at a 15.2% decrease from the current, but Unum has actually come in at a 25% decrease. We're actually recommending Unum at this time on the vision insurance. It is a voluntary benefit, so the employees are paying the cost fully. So we believe any kind of discount we can get the employees is the best option. So the benefits match up almost identical. And the network is almost the same as well. There'd be very little network disruption. Any questions regarding that? All right. Finally, our recommendations. Okay. We are recommending that the City of Pearland renews with Cigna for the 2018-2019 plan year. Best and final fixed fees, including stop-loss premiums, administration fees, and fee credits, represent a plus 2.5% increase, or $26,000 over the current for 2018-2019. However, Cigna will offer additional rebates to the city of almost $49,000. Okay. Also, the increased maximum liability is only 1.7% for the 2018-2019 plan year, as opposed to the other is 6.6% increase. As part of our best and final, again, Cigna has offered an additional $15,000 or $65,000 total for the wellness program for the city of Pearland. Okay. The health plan design, again, the only change that's happening on this is the $100 on the employee's deductible to the HSA plan. This will affect about 59 employees, but again, it's actually an IRS mandate that all plans behave under that structure. Okay. Prescription plan design. We are actually recommending at this time to help with copays and utilization management program. 2019 we're recommending implementing Cigna enhanced prior authorization lists. Okay, the list for prior authorization and quality limits for specific high-cost medications. Further, the program serves to eliminate potential waste and abuse. Really, what we're trying to do is focus in on any kind of opioid issues. I'm pretty sure a lot of y'all have seen stuff like that in the press as of late, but it keeps employees from shopping around, having multiple doctors give multiple prescriptions for the same drug, for the same ailment, just to make sure that we're harnessing any kind of abuse or misuse of the program. I believe it's 66 employees or dependents, members that will actually be affected by this. But we do currently have the same kind of structure for ADHD medication. So really it's just an enhancement on additional drugs that we're trying to keep an eye on. Okay. Is there any questions regarding the management program for the prescription drugs?
Approximately how many employees do we have that participate in the wellness program?
I'm sorry, I couldn't hear you.
Approximately how many employees participate in the wellness program?
I believe, Clay, you said it was about 99% of the employees?
We actually had 91% compliance last year, and right now we're sitting at about 40% at this point in the year, which we think is good. We're continuing to send out educational materials. So out of the 592, we had 543 participate last year.
So it's the rebate's about $300,000
That the city pays out on top? Yes.
minus the rebate from Cigna.
Different rebate. Ours is just, instead of charging the employees for that, we discount their payment and the city picks that up. The rebate's more for the insurance and, I'm sorry, for the medical prescriptions, yeah.
Yep.
Okay, so the city absorbs the cost of the wellness program?
Yes, sir.
Rebate, okay.
But the idea being that's investment and prevents bigger costs down the road.
That's what
Ton of prevention.
yeah. To me, that's well worth it to be able to do that, that in the long run, it would be very beneficial for the city.
It seems like a no-brainer to the employees. If they get $600 in savings, then the city probably pays for the cost of the physical.
Right, and yeah, you're exactly right. So if you're in the managed care program, the employee won't have any cost for that wellness visit. So, and it's important to make it stiff enough that people get motivated to go and do it. And that's, you're right, $600 or for doing basically an hour out of your day.
On the $65,000 for the wellness allowance, is that for internal plan design, or is that something that they provide is like a wellness initiative type, or?
It's actually money that's given to the city of Pearland, kind of set aside that they're allowed to use for all different types of initiatives. If they're planning certain events, to help pay for the events, as well as prizes, stuff like that. For example, if you wanted to have a 5K fun run or something like that, it'd help, and you wanted to offer prizes or gift cards or something.
So is this what's contributing with the outbreak thing that we have coming up? Is that some of those prizes
Exactly.
coming from that?
And been very successful, very popular. People do teams and track them and all that good stuff. So
Do we have a history of utilizing all of those funds, or are we usually under?
so.
Or
I think she wants more.
Oh, we actually, thanks to IPS, have negotiated for more. Yes, for the past 3 years, we have consistently used those wellness funds to the best of their ability.
And these initiatives that are planned, these internally, it's only for the employees and dependents of employees. It's not, can't be used for any other type of wellness initiatives that are citywide or anything available to the public type.
Correct. It's connected to our employees that are on the insurance and the dependents thereof.
And do they work with us to identify what, do we have any needs that have been identified that we can use this money to help reduce, whatever has been identified potentially affecting our rates, or?
We do meet with representatives currently from Cigna and from Kelsey regarding aggregate numbers and aggregate data that comes in based on our healthcare needs, and we try to plan programs based on that. Say it's, whether it's diabetes management programs or high blood pressure or things like that. We do get that aggregate data and then try to plan programs accordingly.
Okay, and is this self-reported, or is this something that's reported through the plan that's somehow managed data? I mean, how are we making these assessments?
We're getting aggregate data that's coming from the wellness visits, that we're having the employees do their wellness visits to their physicians, and it's aggregate data reported based on that.
So the employees are allowing that data to be submitted to the insurance providers? Is that kind of a blanket thing as part of participation, or is it just kind of per user?
We don't get the individual information. All we get is aggregate data based on wellness visits.
Yeah. So we'll get, for example, 50 employees are diabetic or pre-diabetic, and so we'll try to focus new programs to kind of capture that and see what we can do to help moving forward.
Okay. And final question is, do we have any historical data to show that these wellness allowances have actually affected rates from the prior plans and kind of moving forward? Is this something that if we meet certain milestones or anything like that, that maybe there are additional rebates or something that we can apply for? Or
I'll start and let them. I mean, the most telling result is the per capita spend for employees that's been very level over time. So that goes back to the big picture. So, it's aggregate information. We've got anecdotal information. People have gone and shared that they found something or did something different. And then you got the health wellness. We can show, we do have those numbers about weight loss or other kinds of wellness visits. So, but the big numbers speak for themselves in terms of how successful our program's been financially. I don't have anything to compare it to, but I think I'd put it up against most anybody else in terms of this many number of lives that we cover and how successful that's been.
Average annual trend is about 10% each year. So you expect your claims per capita to go up 10% every year just because of medical costs, and we're actually staying flat. So we're actually negating the trends that are happening every year.
And is this put against any quality type reporting as well from the individual employees at any point? Are we making those types of assessments?
We do annual surveys to make sure that employees are happy with the way things are currently structured. If they're not, we meet with Kelsey and Cigna on a routinely basis to actually find out what it is they need to improve, what things need to be addressed, and so forth.
All right. Thank you.
John, do you have anything to put through on that?
Well, Council, have any question or comment after all that? That was kind of like a good program to me.
Yes, sir. And then finally, contributions. We are recommending moving to the 64% instead of the 66 that it's currently at. Again, it's kind of the structure that we've had over the last few years of baby stepping it down 2% each year to finally getting it to the 62%, which we'd recommend for next year. Dental, again, we're actually recommending moving from Aetna to Cigna. Again, it's actually a 21% decrease in the rates. And again, it'll actually, Cigna is actually giving you an additional 1% off the stop loss premium if you bundle the dental with their current medical and stop loss. And then vision, we recommend moving to Unum. Again, it's a 25% decrease. The network is almost identical. And again, this is a voluntary program that the employees are actually paying the full dollar for. Okay. And then life and disability on the next page, on page 25, is actually under a rate guarantee until 10/1 of 2019. And your health savings account and flexible spending account is currently with Cigna. There's no increase in the current fees for that as well. And rates are guaranteed for 3 years. Any questions regarding that?
Yeah, on this slide, so you say rates are guaranteed, but we're not locked into a contract.
Correct.
So did we shop the rates to make sure they're still good?
We didn't at the time because actually separating the HSA and the FSA from the medical carrier would actually may end up offering disturbance for the employees. For example, if they go and They have a claim, they need to file it. Since it's with Cigna, they already know about the claim. It's already processed, so it makes it easier to actually file for reimbursement.
On life and disability?
Well, again, it was under a rate guarantee, so we didn't actually market it at this time. We didn't take it out to bid since everybody is happy with that one.
Thank you.
Sure.
Okay, we run out of questions here for you.
I've got some more.
Oh, you got some more? Good.
why not?
Unload on him.
All right. So back to the 66, 64, 62 dependent. You'd mentioned referring to a benchmark. Can staff provide us that info just so we can look at it and make sure that we're still on track and comparing to the right cities and what makes sense for our employees?
Yes, sir. Yeah, we do have that data. We'd be more than happy to provide.
Okay. And then when we look at, if you'll go to the dental program slide, I guess first, on the vision and dental, do we ever look at, well, I know we look at networks. Do we ever look specific to the Pearland area and see what network captures the most local?
Yes, what we do is we take the census, so we take the zip codes for all the current employees and actually do a census match compared to what they have now to make sure that it matches up. And we even pull down the actual provider list to see what kind of disruption we'll see with those providers. Because there may be some that are out of network under Aetna, but they'll fall in network under Cigna.
There's a very detailed sheet. I can send that up to you too later. And they made the point that even after, the providers may decide to take this insurance if they can pick up some more customers. So it's not locked in. It's up to the providers, but it might even get better. There's not much disruption from what they've provided so far.
So on this screen, could you explain that second from the bottom line, it's disruption results? We're going from 53 to 71%.
Disruption results. Sorry, let me look at my notes here real quick. Actually, the 53 to 71% is actually showing that you have a better network. It's actually stronger than the 53% that they currently have. Okay, so actually we pull down everybody's current, and the Cigna network is actually bigger than the Aetna network. That's right. It's actually the other way around. Correct. Yes. It's not 71% disruption. It's actually 71% continuity. Yeah. So currently, the Pearland employees are actually 47% are actually falling out of network currently. They're going out of network at this time.
So with this change,
71% will actually be in network.
Okay.
And 29% will still be out of network at this time with their current providers that they have.
Okay. And you have some more data you can provide?
Yes, sir.
To support that?
Yeah.
And then back to the very beginning, remind me what the relationship is with IPS advisors in the city?
We're currently the consultant for the insurance employee benefits for the city of Pearland.
Okay. When you led off, you mentioned you were the broker for the city. Are you getting reimbursed? How does IPS?
No, we get a consultant fee, a flat fee. So we never take actual, we're not like a broker where we take commissions, because the way it would work is if I get 5% of the premium and you all have a bad year, so your premium goes up, that means I get a raise even though y'all didn't have a good year, and that's just not fair. So what we do is we take a flat fee every year, and that's it. Yeah.
So there's no outside commissions in any of these
No, sir.
plans or products? All right.
No, sir. Mhm.
That's all I had, Mayor.
You drained the question tank, huh?
Ms. Graham, what has the feedback been from city employees on these options, the 62, the 64, the 66? Do we have that data?
As far as the dependent care subsidy, I think the feedback would be that they would prefer to go back to the 70% subsidy that we had 3 years ago. It's what you would expect it to be. They would like it to stay consistent, if not improve. In some cases, that's the feedback that we do receive related to the subsidy.
I'll just add, you have to take it too in context of the rest of the rates are not moving up so dramatically, so that's a good thing. So that's probably outweighs anything that from this 2% and the subsidy that city's paying. We're still paying more than half.
Yeah, so I'm just looking at these slides and maybe I'm just not understanding them, but the 66% is pretty equivalent with the 64%, and then the 62% is just a much higher cost. Am I reading that right, or somebody correct me if not? It's like on the 66% dependent funded, just the top block there, it's $10, $33, $32, and $35 for total employee contribution. Then you go to the 62%, and it's $10, $60, $51, and $78 versus the 64, which is $10, $46, $42, and 56.
Brian, go to 17.
Go to 17?
That's the recommended one, so.
Okay. Correct. Well, yeah, if you look at it, it's going to almost double to go to the 62%. From 66 to 64 is a certain percentage, and it's actually going to double to go to the 62 because, again, it's another 2%. So that contribution is going to double in size. Therefore, the difference between, for example, the employee spouse on the HSA plan, the 33, the second one, is going to 46, which is $13, which again, it's almost going up another $13 to get it to $60 from the 46. So it's going to double to go to the 62 from the 64.
And so the employee will get the same coverage that they had before, just a slight increase, or are they losing something to get that slight increase?
No, the plan designs are staying the same, except for, again, for that $100 deductible increase on the HSA plan, which is only about 59 employees currently.
Any other question or comment? Sounds like it's a pretty good plan to me.
Sir.
I'd feel real comfortable about that.
Mayor, if I could just ask staff, so we talked about the retiree gap coverage. We kind of have to get this settled tonight, and then that'll come back before us?
Right, I should have mentioned at the outset, this is strictly with active employees, and as was mentioned, we'll come back in 2 weeks with the gap, the 60 to 65 retiree program, but this helps to settle that down and make the comparisons that was talked about. So.
Any other question from council? Mr. Secretary, we do have a motion second on the floor.
Councilmember Moore,
Aye.
Councilmember Reed,
Aye.
Councilmember Hernandez,
Aye.
Councilmember Little, Councilmember Perez, Perez is absent. Councilmember Owens,
I'll vote for him.
Send him an email.
Councilmember Carbone.
Aye.
Motion passed 6-0.
Thank you very much.
Moving our agenda to item number 9, Mayor Council issues for future City Council agendas. There were no requests from council at this time. Other business winds up at adjournment time, and I will adjourn this meeting at 8:06 o'clock. And thank everybody for hanging in here and working through the problems. They're not problems, they're victories for city. Thank you very much.
Yeah, it did. So when you do